Good morning, everybody. How you doing? Today I'm gonna put on a little makeup, but my friend asked me to do one about how it was raising three kids under the age of under the age of 4, and by myself. And as I have mentioned before, one of my kids had Down syndrome. So that was an extra added little challenge there. Um, so for her, I'm going to do this. I had my kids many, many moon ago, back in the 80s. My first child, I was only 22. And I had the twins when I was 26. Um, and I was by myself most of the time because their father chose it that way, and that's okay. That's okay. You do what you got to do, and you just have to rise up to that challenge. And so I did. And I had a pretty full plate. My son, Rudy, as I said, had Down syndrome, and he had a lot of, not health problems. I was very blessed because he, on the whole, was pretty healthy. But very typical with Down syndrome is he had very poor muscle control, and like when he was born, he was kind of like, they call it a rag doll. He didn't have very much muscle tone. He, this reaction a baby has is to automatically go like that if you touch their palm. Well, Rudy didn't do that. His hands always stayed open, and he couldn't suckle, and he couldn't do, stuff like that. He didn't cry. He didn't cry till he was like 3 months old, as I mentioned before. I'm gonna try not to repeat a lot of stuff I've already told y'all, but that's gonna happen. So anyway, he started therapy when he was only 2 weeks old. And my older son, he had been by himself, all this 3 years, and wasn't really sure how to react to the twins. When they brought him to the hospital, his first reaction was he wanted me to take Rudy back. Not because he knew Rudy was different or anything. It's just he just didn't want two of them. So Rudy was his choice, and he, mistakenly, we had told him that they came from Walmart, and so he just thought I could take him back and get an exchange. But, of course, we all know that didn't happen. But then, Veronica, while Rudy didn't make a noise for 3 months, Veronica made up for it. And she was kind of colicky. And she cried for 2 weeks straight, every night from 8 to 10, every night. Every single night. And so then TJ decided that he wanted me to take her back. And that continued for many years. That's another story. But so that was a challenge, because he had been by himself for 3 years. And my friends and my children will tell you that he was spoiled, and that's probably not far off because, you know, he was my only child and very well loved, as were the twins. It's just I didn't have as much time to spoil them as I did TJ. So, you know, there's a little bit of a learning curve there. The twins, I was very, 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 very poor when my children were born, and was not able to provide for them as I wanted, but I did provide for them. Just not as well as I would have liked, but you know, they survived, thank God. Despite their mother. It's like the twins, I sold my my car, my broken down car, for $150, and at the time, twins were not, or multiples were not abundant like they are now. You know, it seems like every time you turn the corner you see another set of multiples. But back then it was a rarity, and so I had to order my stroller for them from Sears catalog. And so that was like $120, which at the time that was like astronomical for a stroller. Oh my God, that was so much for a stroller. But I needed it because I didn't have a car, so I had to be able to get them around somehow. And I needed a stroller, so that's what I did. Because I didn't have the dual umbrella strollers. They didn't have any of that. And this stroller was, they called it a limousine stroller, and it was made with those, if you'll look back in the old days, they made it with those aluminum piping and the plastic seats and stuff, and the seats faced each other, and I could lay it down, and that's actually where they slept for the first month or so. They fit perfectly in there, and they slept really good at night when I did that. And then I was able to get a crib and put them in a crib. So, and I had one crib at first, and then put them both in there, and every night I had one on one side and the other on the other side, and I would go in there and check on them, and every time I'd go and check on them, Rudy would have moved over to his sister. Somehow he managed to get his little butt over there because he wanted to be by his sister, which I thought was pretty awesome, you know. And it seems like they always had their arms around each other, you know. So that was pretty cool. Anyway, TJ had trouble adjusting to being a big brother. Most of my pictures you look at, he is not really smiling, except for the Christmas picture, because the twins were born December 2nd, so he made out like a bandit for Christmas that year. And got a Teddy Ruxpin and a wagon and some skates, and yeah, he made out pretty good. So he was smiling there. And you know, it's okay. He was spoiled. I don't mind saying it. Everybody says he's still spoiled, which he probably is. But if my daughter were closer, she would be spoiled too. Just the way it is. I love my kiddos. Love my grandbabies. Anyway, so I was busy when they were little. Rudy had therapy a couple times a week, and which was difficult because I lived in another town from where his therapist was, but fortunately, she also happened to be one of my best friends, still is, and so when she could, she would come to my house and do his therapy from there. So that was always nice when she could do that. And so when she would come and do that, I would take them. I'd have to take Veronica with me, and sometimes TJ, if I could, I left him with the next door neighbor who was my sitter, and because that was too much. Like going grocery shopping, if I could, I always tried to. It was worth it to me to pay somebody to watch them while I went grocery shopping, because if I was going by myself, it was nearly an impossible task, because I had 2 carriers or the big stroller, and then I had a 3-year-old, 4-year-old, and it just, if I put them in the basket, there wasn't any room for the food. So, and plus, it gave me a break. Now, that's one of the biggest things I would tell any young parents is you need to make time for yourself. I know you're all about your kids and you don't want to deprive them or, whatever, but you're not. You're depriving them if you are not happy and taking care of yourself. That's depriving your children. Because if you're not happy, you're not going to be a happy parent, and therefore you will not have happy children. You're going to have whiny children. You're going to have children that misbehave in public. You're going to just have those kids, because I can guarantee you most of the kids that you see out in public who misbehave, and I'm not saying all of them, because some kids have problems. Some kids are autistic. Some kids, have other issues or whatever. So never judge. Never judge a parent who has a screaming child. Never. You don't know what they're going through. You don't know if that child is autistic and cannot help themselves and is being overstimulated. You do not know, if that parent has been going through something and their mood, their problems, whatever, are transferring to their child. You just don't know. So please, instead of judging them, go over and ask if you can help them. Go talk to that child. See if you can help calm that child down. Don't assume that they're just bad parents, because they're not. As a rule, they're not. So, that's my little soapbox thing there, okay? So, anyway, so I would pay for somebody to watch my kids so I could go grocery shopping, because, for one thing, I love my kids, and I did not want to get mad at my kids, and I did not want to tell my kids no, and I was poor. So if they wanted something, more than likely, I was not going to be able to afford it. And because I love my children, I did not want to fight with them. I didn't want to disappoint them. I didn't want to have them cause a scene or whatever the case may be. I just, and I needed that time. I needed, because, when you're shopping for groceries and stuff, and usually I would make a list and whatever, But sometimes, I'd have to think about, okay, well, what am I making for the week? What do I need to get to make whatever, you know? And so if you have these children with you that are all under the age of 5 or whatever, you're not going to be able to think straight. You're just not going to be able to. It just doesn't work that way. So that's, just part of my reasoning for not taking my children with me when I would go grocery shopping or any kind of shopping. My kids didn't get to pick out their clothes until they were speaking, walking, talking age, like 10. Because they were going to get what I was going to get them, and that was it, because, again, I didn't have money to be selective on what I could get them, so got them what I could, and they just had to deal with it, it's not, later my troubled child, my spoiled child, wanted name brand Tommy Hilfiger kind of crap, but my angel daughter was never like that. She was never a fashionista that she needed, or it, not even needed, that she would express that she wanted fancy clothes and stuff. And she was a tomboy, so she was pretty easy. It was t-shirts and jeans, tennis shoes. She wasn't a dressy girl. Now she's a girly girl, but she wasn't back then. My eyebrows look okay. My hair is a little different today. Y'all haven't ever seen me blow with my hair blown out, so I hope you like it. So anyway, one of the things I had was discipline is one of the things she was asking me about. And, I didn't do timeout. I didn't do stuff like that. My kids were raised in a time that you still spanked your kids. And I, to this day, don't think there's a problem with that. I didn't beat my children. I didn't abuse them. I didn't bruise them. I didn't hurt them. I gave them a swat on the butt, and they got grounded. So, and they turned out okay, I think. I'm pretty proud of them. So, they may tell you I was a bully or what, I don't know. That's their story, and I'm not going to tell their story. But, they got a swat. I don't know what else to tell you. I had a belt, and when I would pull out the belt, they knew Mama was serious. And it is what it is. I didn't have, I was pretty lucky. Veronica, man, my daughter's my angel. She was a great kid. TJ could be a great kid, but TJ had issues, and didn't always want to be a great kid. So, yeah. And I had a difficult time with TJ. I didn't know. I didn't always know what to do. But like I said, he turned out okay, and he's a wonderful father, son. I think he's turned out to be a pretty good brother. And the way he is with his children is amazing, especially since he didn't really have good male role model. Unfortunately, I tried, but you know, things don't always work out in life the way we want them to. And so that was one of the things that didn't work out in my life, was my personal life. But you know, it's okay. I've got a wonderful husband now, so that's all that matters. And so anyway, there was a period of time that I had to be really, really harsh with my son, which was not easy. I mean, it's never easy when you have to really pull out all the stops to help your child, you know, and whether they think you're helping them or not, you know, usually they're not going to think you are, because they just see that you're trying to stop them from doing something they want to do. And, you know, one of our issues was that for a while he didn't want to go to school. And that was not acceptable. So I did all sorts of stuff. I poured water on him. I dragged him out of the bed. I took him to court. I called truant officers on him. You know, I did all sorts of stuff. But it was because I loved my child. And now it's a good thing. You know, like I said, my child is a wonderful, wonderful father. I'm super proud of him. Super, super proud. And I think it all worked out the way it was supposed to work out. You know, God gives us challenges, and we just have to do the best we can with them. You know, whether it's having a child with a handicap, or having multiples, or having a child that's got, you know, some issues. Which, let me explain. I do not feel like anything that my son went through as a child was just because he was a bad kid. That's not what it is. I was beaten while I was pregnant, and I firmly believe that affected my child. He learned how to deal with his anger issues as an adult, and I think that's been hugely beneficial. And yeah, like I said, he's an amazing young man. And I know that's my opinion, and I'm his mommy and whatever, but I think that most people who know him would agree. So, and you know, I tried to get help for him. And like I said, my kids were born in the 80s, and nowadays you take your kid in and you say your kid's got anxiety, or your kid's got this or that or whatever. Nowadays the doctors are, okay, well, let's give him this and let's give him that and whatever. You know, they didn't do that. I did take them to the doctors. I did try to get him help, and they just kept telling me, oh, well, he's going to grow out of it, and he's going to, you know, be fine. And yeah, he grew out of it when he was in his 20s. You know, and that's okay. That's okay. Nowadays you can get help for your kids, and I think that is totally awesome. Awesome, awesome. But back then you couldn't. So, yeah, we just did what we had to do, and we worked through it, and here we are today, and he's awesome. Yeah, he's awesome. I wouldn't trade him for nothing. Let me see if I can get some of this on here. I like that. What do you think? You like that? So anyway, I did this kid raising thing, and I worked, and I went back to school, not once, but twice. Got my degree the second time. First time I just did it so I could stop working in restaurants, because I didn't like the hours. I didn't get to see my kids. All sorts of things like that. So I went back to school full time with 3 children under. See, the first time they were under the age of 6 when I went to school. And I had to wait until they started, the twins could start. No, the twins weren't even going to school. I was paying a sitter. But I was on public assistance, and a lot of people have negative things to say about public assistance, and I am one of them. I think there's many people who abuse the system, and but for the brief time I was on it, I used it to better myself for my children, and that's what it's there for. So, I don't ever want to see the help go away, because there's a lot of people out there, unfortunately, mostly women, who have been in bad situations, and they need the help, and they use it correctly. They use it to go back to school, to do better for their children, to, just to. And so, having stayed in a women's shelter and things like that, I know how valuable this assistance can be. So, that's another little soapbox thing of mine, is there's nothing wrong with this. What's wrong is people who abuse the system. And there's always going to be people that figure out the loopholes. It's just the way it is. It's just like people figuring out how to hack computers and all that other crap. You're always going to find users. There's always going to be users. Doesn't matter how advanced we get. Doesn't matter how whatever. There's always going to be users. I do think, okay, this is my little soapbox moment here, and then I'll stop. I do think that anybody who is on public assistance needs to be drug tested before they're able to get assistance. And that's all I'm going to say about that. So, okay, now we are going to attempt again. I am going to attempt again to put on lashes. We all know I am not very good at this at all. At all. But I'm going to try again. I figure one of these days I will get it figured out. And hopefully today will be one of those days, because I got some really pretty lashes. And so, yeah. Anyway, I went back to school, got my degree when I was in my 40s. And it was really difficult because at the time my husband was dying. My first husband was dying. And, yeah, it was just a difficult time. And, so, but I did it. I did it. And, now I've got a decent job because of it. So, it's a good thing. It's a good thing. Oh my gosh. Okay, we're gonna try to do this here. So I got some. I got some better glue, so I'm told. I got the Duo. Told this is the best. So we'll see. Anyway, so yeah, we've had different challenges. I had to place Rudy in a group home when he was 17, way sooner than I ever anticipated having to do it. It was the hardest thing I've ever had to do in my entire life, was to place my child in a group home. But for his safety and for the Did I do it? Oh my gosh, did I do it? Oh, I think I did. I think I did. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy. Oh, anyway, back to Rudy. I had to do it for his safety and for other family members' safety, because he had started having some anger issues and stuff, and I was not able to physically help him. I was no longer able to restrain him and things like that, so I had no choice. And my daughter was pregnant, and I had my grandchild, my oldest grandchild, with us a lot. My husband was very ill, and it was just too much. I couldn't do it. And I had extreme guilt over this. Matter of fact, when Veronica and I went and took Rudy to Abilene the first time, which is where he was. It's a 5-hour drive from here. I actually had to pull over on the side of the road after we left, because I just couldn't drive. I was hysterical. It is not something I ever thought I was going to have to do so early. I knew eventually I would place him in a group home, just because, he deserved to have a life too, and be with his friends. And my health was pretty bad, and so I knew eventually he would be in a group home, but I just never expected it so soon. So it is what it is. And but it was for everybody's best interest, including Rudy's. Because people don't realize, but my child could have been arrested for assault. And if he had hurt somebody seriously, he could have been arrested for aggravated assault, or if he seriously hurt somebody, where they were, killed or something, he could have been charged with murder. And so, for his sake, I did what was best. And that was a good thing. We had one place where he was at that maybe was not the best, but overall, he was in really, really good places. And I'm so proud of myself. I put lashes on. Oh, they're beautiful. And I got these, they're faux mink, and I got them. They don't have a name on it. I got them off of Wish because I'm po. So I have to do what I can do. And so anyway, that's that. That was what happened. So, y'all, nowadays, everybody, to me, and I'm probably very wrong, but because it's never easy raising children. Never is it easy raising children. Ever. But, I feel like people today have a lot more available to them to help them raise their children. I feel like the village has grown because, it's like they said, it takes a village. I feel like there's a lot more things out there for you, resources for you to take care of your children. There's medications for kids that have issues. There's just so much. There's classes. There's YouTube. There's, there's so much that none of this. I didn't touch a computer till I was 28 years old. 28. Nowadays, everybody's raised with a computer in their hand as soon as they're born. My grandchildren were, 1 year old and showed me how to use my phone. They'd get my phone and get on YouTube. And how do you know how to do that? You can't even talk yet. How do you know how to get on YouTube? It just amazes me how smart everybody is nowadays, because I guarantee you I am not that smart. I'm smart. Don't get me wrong. I have no doubts about my intelligence. It's just, it's on a different level from people who are raised nowadays. Totally different level. Everything that I know about computers and this stuff and whatever, I'm still learning the whole YouTube thing. I don't